I'm Elizabeth Corona. I'm from Washington, D.C. So transitioning to the government from working in a law firm was a big shift for me, and one I'm still not sure that I've completely made after maybe 5 or 6 years. Working in a law firm was a lot of late nights and a lot of intense hours. Working in the government has been a very different experience for me. It's been a lot more passion. I think almost everybody I work with is very passionate about what they do. They care about the environment, they care about being a federal employee, a civil servant. I try to be one of the people that gets rid of the red tape, but I think there's less red tape than people realize. A lot of it is things that we create for ourselves, and getting outside of thinking this is the way we've always done it and it's the way it always has to be is a big part of what we try to do. So when I started my PhD, I started at the University of Connecticut in the PhD in economics program. I was there for a year, and one of the hardest decisions I ever made was to walk away from that program because I knew it wasn't the right fit for me. And as a woman, it was very hard to admit that I wasn't in the right place at the right time. I was very young, I was only 21, and I went straight from undergrad into a PhD program. And I stepped away from it. I went and got an MBA, and when I came back, I knew I wanted to get a PhD. But I took the time to find a program that was right for me. And I think that when I look at younger women today, what I would tell them is never walk away from your dream. Just because it didn't work out the first time doesn't mean that you can't ultimately achieve that. It just takes a lot of searching for the right fit for you personally. Thinking about my PhD program, I don't think that I was at a disadvantage because I was a woman, but I definitely think that I pushed myself harder because I felt like I had to prove more. I became interested in triathlon the year that I finished my PhD. A friend of mine suggested that we sign up for the DC Tri Club new triathlete program. And I was sort of anxious about finishing this big thing, wrapping up my dissertation, and I had all this free time that I didn't know what to do with myself. And I thought, why not? I'll give it a try. So we signed up, and I honestly never thought it would stick. It wasn't sort of part of my plan to become a triathlete. It just sort of is something I fell in love with. It was something that, at least for me as somebody who had never really done a lot of sports, I always did activities, but I was never really a part of a team or sports. I would try things, but nothing was really my thing. I swam, I biked, I ran, but never really to get anywhere. So the new triathlete program was a really structured program that allowed me to learn how to do those things more efficiently. It helped me to combine those things, learned how to transition from one sport to another. And those were things I had never done before, so it was really a great way to have a structured introduction to triathlon that was in a safe environment with a lot of the elite athletes from the DC Tri Club participate, so I was able to learn a lot from them. So when I started NTP, the new triathlete program, I was a total newbie. I mean, I still feel like a newbie. Every day, I think that's my approach to life, right? Every day a newbie. But I quickly learned that a lot of the people who I was most afraid of were the ones I was attracted to as friends, the people who were really good at triathlon. They were really fast, they worked really, really hard, and I found them intimidating, but for some reason, I like to surround myself with those people who are better than me, because I think the only way you get better is if you surround yourself with people who are faster, stronger, smarter than you. So I immediately started trying to sort of figure out how I could be more like them, how I could work harder. And that's ultimately why I stuck around, because the longer I'm around those people, the better I become. At sports, at life, it's a great group of people to surround yourself with. Being surrounded by people who are faster, smarter, stronger than you is humbling. And sometimes that's not such a bad thing. It's inspiring to be able to look around and say, you know, this person can run faster than I can, or this person has a degree in something that I just frankly, you know, I'm never going to be a chemist. But I think it's humbling to see that there are people who have different skills and bring different things to the table than I do. And one thing I've learned by surrounding myself with those people is that I have something that I can bring to the table too. And that's been really able to help build my self-confidence. It's definitely helped shut up my inner critic. And I've learned a lot of that through multisport. So I joined the DC Triathlon Club board about 3 years ago. I had only been in the sport for a couple of years at the time, and a friend convinced me that it would be a great way to give back to the club. So I ran and got elected to the board, and I've been on it ever since. So being on the board has been incredibly gratifying. It's allowed me to give back to club members. It's allowed me to have a sort of forcing mechanism to be more social. I'm the Director of Community Development and Outreach, and ironically, I'm also sort of a closet introvert. So it's been a great way for me to push myself outside of my sort of comfort zone and go out and do things like happy hours that I would maybe normally skip. So it's a combination of being both good for me personally, but a great way to give back to the club. Triathlon and endurance sports in general have made me push myself in a way physically that I never thought that I would. It's something that I've been able to get into that zone that they talk about, where it's just totally a meditative state. And I never had that with anything else in life, where I had just felt completely free and I could relax into it. So it's funny because the harder I push myself, the more relaxed I become. So for me, what I find relaxing about endurance sports in general is the repetition. So the repeated motion of running, the pounding on the pavement, the repeated motion of pedaling, even swimming. I count my strokes, I count my steps, I count my pedal strokes. When I go up that hill on Tilden or wherever it is, 83 pedal strokes to get up to the top of that hill. I know every segment of my run. I know every segment of my swim. I know how many strokes it's going to take me in the pool. And that repetition, that counting, is very meditative to me. It helps, it's soothing to me in a way that nothing else is. I think as a woman in endurance sports in general, you tend to hold yourself back to feel like you're not good enough, you're not fast enough to train with the faster guys, you're not necessarily going to come in first in your age group. And I think there's probably men out there who feel that way too, who are holding themselves back. More and more women have gotten involved in triathlon and endurance sports in general. But I think the most important thing for me that I would tell people is to try. But you should get out there and give it a shot, because it's something that, you know, while it may not be for you, you can at least say that you made the effort and you pushed yourself.